Wow. The title of my talk today is Carpe Diem. It's a Latin motto that basically means choice while you are alive. How are you seizing or rejoicing in your life right now? Are you doing what you love? Just for a moment, I want you to picture that the word diem means one long day. So basically, this moment now for the rest of your life. One diem day, I guess that would be. Could go either way, depending on your perspective. Are you doing what you love? Do you even know what that may be? Are you designing an environment for that which you love to totally thrive? I have a little demonstration that I'd like to show you. Some of you may have seen it before, but I think it's a good reminder. I'll hold it up for those in the back. Okay. Try and not break anything because I borrowed this jar from the church. Okay. So, does the jar look full? Pretty much, yeah. Not quite. I got some pebbles here that I can put in. Don't worry, Crystal. I'll pick up later. Okay, now. How's that? No. Looking? No? Okay. Yeah, I think there's some more spots in it. Now. We have black Bidwell Park sand. All right. Just about there. Now, would you say it's full now? Nope. Oh, no, I don't need liquid. There's always room for... So, I call it a little of the sweetness of life. You thought you knew what to predict, didn't you? Okay, so basically, what this jar represents is your life. Had I put the sand and the pebbles and the jello in first, I wouldn't have fit the rocks in. The big rocks represent the important things of your life, your health, your family, your loved ones, your dear friends. We can always fill it with more. The pebbles, more your job, your school, things that matter, but not quite as much as the big rocks. And then, of course, the sand, all that stuff that fills your time, that doesn't really move you forward in life. They just, like the internet, not that there's anything wrong with the internet, but how many days have you let slip by on Facebook? So basically, the jar can always be filled up with more, but it might be time to ponder, what are you truly filling your life up with? My brother died suddenly about 28 years ago. And now with my sister's passing just 4 months ago, it's caused me to reflect deeply on losing 2 siblings at this point in my life and what that means. I know that on most days, death is an illusion, and we just transcend from this non-physical place, from this physical place to this non-physical place, and experience a different spiritual dimension. And then I have my days where I'm not all that sure what happens. I just know that we have a limited time in this physical body to do whatever we are being called to do. It's kind of like a ticking clock. Wow. try and say that 3 times fast. I got to get these words out before the time is up. I get to notice if I've added those big rocks in my life, the things that make my life worth living. I want to share with you now a quote from the Gospel of Thomas. It states, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." These words have haunted me because they cause me to really question what I'm filling my days and time up with. I think of many people who have held back in their lives because they were afraid to live boldly or even just take that first step. They questioned and doubted themselves so much, and they were unable to move forward, even in the smallest amount. Fear can paralyze people. When I was very young, I had a calling to be a teacher. And I used to teach the flowers in the garden in the front of the yard. Surrounded by a white picket fence, they were a very captive audience. However, I was terrified to speak in front of real live people. I still am. In fact, I picture you all as colorful flowers. The dreams that I have before I give a talk are rather quite unique. A while back, I dreamed that I showed up to the center without my notes, nor my clothes. And then a few weeks ago, before my last talk, I had a dream that I got shot in the head. And as I'm standing up here bleeding, I'm trying to reassure everyone that it's just a flesh wound. So, I interpreted it to mean that speaking in front of an audience was comparable to being shot in the head. Anybody else have that feeling? Okay. So at times it feels like that which I'm bringing forth is going to destroy me. But I try and not let fear hold me back. I want to show you for a moment a clip from the movie Dead Poets Society. I think it helps accentuate this theme a little bit more. So, Crystal, if you will, look at this.
Mr. It's an unfortunate name. Where are you? You open the hymnal to page 542. Read the first stanza to Paul, you find there.
The versions to make much of time?
Yes, that's the one. Somewhat appropriate, isn't it?
Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still flying, and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. The Latin term for that sentiment is Carpe Diem. Who knows what that means? Carpe Diem. That seize the day. Very good, Mr. Meeks. Another unusual name. Seize the day. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. Why does the writer use these lines? Yes, he's in a hurry. No. Ding! Anyway. Because we are food for worms, lads. Because believe it or not, each and every one of us in this room is one day going to stop breathing, turn cold, and die. I'd like you to step forward over here and peruse some of the faces from the past. You've walked past them many times. I don't think you really looked at them. They're not that different from you, are they? Same haircuts, full of hormones, just like you. Invincible, just like you feel. The world is their oyster. They believe they're destined for great things, just like many of you. Their eyes are full of hope, just like you. Did they wait till it was too late to make from their lives even one iota of what they were capable? Because you see, gentlemen, these boys are now fertilizing daffodils. If you listen real close, you can hear them whisper their legacy to you. Go on, lean in. Listen. You hear it?
I'm a big fan of Robin Williams, if you noticed from my clip a few weeks ago. So how do we seize our days? What formula do we live to make our lives extraordinary, or perhaps just to make the most out of the time that we have left right now? I like to think that we can follow our GPS, our God positioning system. You can't get it wrong because your guidance will just correct you if you get off course. There are many ways to accomplish this if you're just open to it and able to move beyond those limiting, fearful thoughts. Aligning with and listening to your inner self can be easy, yet often not so obvious. It doesn't come like blaring trombones or a burning bush. It might just be subtle little urges here and there, beckoning you onward to places that maybe you've never been before. Stepping out of a comfort zone of any kind can be challenging. Creating a receptive state in the morning is how I like to begin. I don't have to have it all figured out because that would be really scary. I need to be open to the possibilities that the new day presents. Now, Abraham Hicks in The Laws of Attraction talks about starting general with our thoughts first thing in the morning, not getting too specific, not trying to figure out every little issue, but to begin in a way that's relaxing and peaceful. I try to begin by noticing what brings me joy. I have a tree outside my second-story window, and when the morning sun hits the leaves just right, they light up like fluorescent bulbs. And then I get to watch the squirrels and the birds as they frolic around. It's almost like I have this flying circus right next to me. This allows me to begin to notice and align myself with that joyous vibration of energy. I just try and be aware of what my body is truly telling me. And then the next step begins to unfold more easily. I become clear on what I want to do when I start with this base of joy. And if you can hold that feeling for about 20 seconds or so, it draws to it another similar thought or belief that is complementary. And then you eventually get to visualize the kind of life that you want, seeing it in the mind's eye to begin to create your day. Howard Thurman once wrote, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive." This quote gives me permission to do what my soul is longing to do. I don't need to try and save the world. I tried that for a number of years and found it very frustrating because I found that the world is already transforming in ways that allows people to participate according to their beliefs. To clarify this, I want to read to you a little bit from the book Callings by Greg Lavoie. He says, "We each determine in a fitting response, what we each determine is a fitting response is entirely subjective. One person might take on multinational corporations or federal laws on the plight of an entire race of people. Another might adopt a child from the third world. And yet another might simply sweep the street in front of the shop every morning. For some, all the activism they can handle in life is in trying to heal their own souls. Though, by most accounts, this is the work of the world. Contemplative nuns and monks, writers and most artists serve the world best. For instance, in solitude. They touch the world most intimately when they're completely alone, conferring their medicine through prayer and painting, through writing books and working the beads. They may seldom see a soul, yet be engaged in the deepest soul work, which simultaneously serves the greater community. So ask yourself, what is it that makes your soul come alive? And know that when you follow it, it contributes to the whole, and your unique touch is truly what the world needs. Reflect on that part of your life that comes easily for you, something that you're good at and that you enjoy. These are key ingredients in finding your calling or recognizing how to live life fully, because purpose is created where passion and talent come together. There was a lot of purpose going on up here today with the choir. As your day and life progresses and you are still attempting to seize it, notice if you are just reacting to events or responding to them. There's a big difference here. You created them on some level. Even those events that you deem negative, they began with a belief, and perhaps they even started in your subconscious mind and you're not even aware of them. So if you can just gently acknowledge them and not get too caught up in the conditions of your life, as fascinating and exciting as those conditions might be at times, they will move out and through your experience, just like clouds passing overhead. You just get to notice them and then say, this too shall pass. Oftentimes, though, we might not like what we see, and we tend to stop everything and get mad at what we're looking at. We point out all the ways we don't like something. We may shout out to anybody passing by exactly how we're the victim in the situation. Sometimes we build up such a momentum with this that our day becomes like an avalanche, beginning with one negative snowball thought. I want to share an example of this. Back when I first moved up to Paradise, I was starting high school. It was my first day of high school, in fact. And I was trying to walk around these seniors who were blocking my path, and I was running late to a class that I didn't know where it was. I ended up slipping in the mud, falling flat on my behind. Well, this is where negative momentum perhaps began, as I went from class to class, kind of brushing off my bottom the rest of the day. I could not wait to get on the bus and just get home at the end of the day. And in my haste to getting on the bus, I got on the wrong one. It took me to the opposite end of town, and I had no idea where I was because I just moved to the town, so I couldn't recognize anything. And I finally just told the bus driver to drop me off at some semi-familiar corner. Well, it was still miles from my house. I then silently walked home in a complete martyr fashion, doing the Stations of the Cross. I wasn't even Catholic. When you get to this point, preferably beforehand, way beforehand, it's often valuable just to stop and meditate and do a spiritual mind treatment or clear your mind in whatever way you can. This is when you might hear that inner GPS saying, recalculating, stop seizing. Sometimes, like in real life, my ego wants to be right. And I will argue with the GPS and say, no, I want my good right here, right now, and this situation is not fair. This only prolongs my good from arriving. We need to slow down enough to get the experience of seeing more clearly and listening for those cues that might even come from the heart. The journey of life might not always be this direct, straight path. Sometimes we need to make a 180-degree turn. A life event will cause such contrast that it is now pointing us in an entirely new direction. We each need to walk our own path, even if it contradicts everything that other people are expecting from you, or perhaps it defies an old dream that is no longer relevant for you. Perhaps it's a health challenge that, while you initially felt devastated from, it's given you a chance to slow down more, to breathe deeply, to appreciate things that you didn't notice before, and to follow a new calling that you might have suppressed. The universe tends to always kick in to get you to that place where your soul is longing to be. Sometimes it throws things on your path for redirection to get you there a little quicker, or to make a bigger impact in your life. Stephen Hawking felt that he was not using his mind to the fullest. And so he actually said that getting Lou Gehrig's disease at the tender age of 23 was actually a blessing in disguise, because it caused him to fully focus his mind. Purpose can also be revealed much later in life, as Winston Churchill found out. He was defeated in every election up until he was elected as Prime Minister at the age of 62. So when we don't get events quickly, or when we don't judge events quickly and on a superficial level, but continue to follow that guidance, life unfolds in seemingly miraculous ways. If we can remain open to messages, we get the confirmation we need in order to go on in whatever direction we need to go. 4 months ago, as I was racing to the airport to be with my sister who was on her deathbed, I was very distraught, and I called out to her and I said, I knew I wasn't going to make the 2:30 flight, and it would take hours before I could finally be with her. And so I called out to her and I said, Angela, just please let me know that on some level you are okay. And then I turned on the radio to get my mind off of things because I was just very upset. The moment I turned on the radio, this song belted out, and it was called Dear Angela. I have not heard a song called Angela ever, let alone Dear Angela. She died before she was to retire. She was going to take off and travel. And now I'm feeling this calling to do that for her. So on her birthday, June 27th, I'm going to take off on an adventure and go travel to some places that I know she would have loved to see. Are you putting off life until you retire? Are you feeling like you reached your peak and now life is just slowly declining from here on? Is your jar so filled with sand that there's no room for anything left? I want to read to you a little part from the book Dare to Be Yourself by Alan Cohen. And he talks about two boys who were walking along discussing life, and one said he didn't want to grow up. And the other boy asked why, and he says, because when you grow up, your heart dies. The child's statement really got to me. I realized that what he was saying is true. Most people allow their heart to close down with age, not because we have to, not because God set up life that way, but because we let it be so. It doesn't have to be that way. If we choose, we can keep our heart alive and be fully in life at any age. Lived correctly, the curtains of our heart continue to open like the petals of a flower as our life progresses. In his 94th year, Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, declared, "I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and I go forth to do the things that ought to be done by me." I love that word, fairly sizzle. Will Rogers once said, "If you wait until you are ready, you will wait forever." The time is now. If you want to live your passion, just start doing it. You don't have to be an expert. You didn't learn to walk until you wobbled through those first uneasy steps. And you didn't learn to swim until you got in the water and began to move. There is a divine calling longing to be expressed as us. In the Science of Mind teaching, we learn that we are here to reveal that God essence that finds its outlet through our physical beings. It's the divine calling that turns an acorn into an oak tree, a single idea into a momentum, and a question into an invention. Some of you are painters. I've seen some of your work. Some of you are chefs. Some of you are political organizers. Some of you are dancers and singers and writers. Some of you are monks living on a mountainside. What are you waiting for? You are all beings of energy, and turning inward, you attract to you all that you need to allow your heart to go on, to do what it longs to do. So, before you become part of the earth, just pushing up those daisies, finish blooming your beautiful selves. Seize those moments that allow your soul to sing and make your life worth rejoicing. Namaste.